You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is my conversation with a fella called Jake Burns. He's in a band called Stiff Little Fingers. The reason for the conversation was to promote the band's then upcoming tour of Australia, which occurred in February of 2018. Let's go. I like to call it, because I think I'm one of many calls that you probably fielded today already.
You are. It's this is actually my second run at it as well. So it's like I did one a couple of weeks ago where I locked myself away in my little recording studio at home and chat to you folks all afternoon. No, it's well apart from the damn phone problems, it's been fine. You know, people are very nice.
Oh, wonderful, mate. Well, we are looking forward to you coming down, mate, for your Australian tour. What sort of show are you going to put on when you come down?
Well, we kind of feel a bit charlatan-like in so much as we're advertising it as the 40th anniversary tour, because the 40th anniversary is actually this year. But I reckon we can get away with it by stretching it to February next year. Basically what we try to do and what we've done with every show this year is to try and cover as much of the career as you can in like an hour and a half or whatever it is you get on stage. So that's not always that easy to do. Again, with sort of a career of that length, you sort of look back at to try and put together a set list. It's more a case of what you leave out than what you put in. You know what I mean?
For sure.
We've kind of got there's always like 6 or 7 songs. You think, well, if we don't play those, they'll lynch us, so we got to play those. And then there's the highlights from this record and that record and this record. And before you know it, you're sort of left with, well, wouldn't it be nice to play a couple of new songs? And then we all look blankly at each other and go, where are you going to put them in? To put them in, you're going to have to drop something. But I always feel that, particularly with something like an anniversary show, that although it is obviously, it's a bit more of a nostalgic thing than the majority of shows that we would do. It is a celebration. That's kind of the thinking behind it. But I always think it's a good idea to throw at least a couple of brand new things in, particularly since we're hoping to be in a position where we can make another album that's by the back end of next year. Just to prove to people that we've been doing it for 40 years, but we are still looking forward. Rather than because otherwise it's too easy to slide into the sort of cabaret. Here's another one of my favorites. I hope it's one of yours. Kind of old bollocks that people do. So try not to do that.
Yeah, I just watched Paul McCartney the other night, actually, and I wouldn't even say that he did it. Somehow he found time in his bloody enormous catalogue of work to play about 3 or 4 new numbers.
Yeah, no, that's impressive. That's really impressive. I'm moaning about Stiff Little Fingers. The man was in the Beatles, for God's sake.
And that's literally the only reason I wanted to go and see him. I can't say I'm enamored with his solo career. I just wanted to say I'd seen a Beatle.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's probably nothing wrong in that.
So, mate, you are the band is 10 studio albums into your career. That's spread over 40 years. What is it that keeps you inspired and going?
Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, I've said this a million times. It's like, I've never been able to write "I love her, she loves me, and I'm all choked up" songs. They don't come readily to me. It's like I tend to write. I write songs when something annoys me or something upsets me, and that's sadly the state of the world is such that even after 40 years, there's barely a day goes by without something on either on the television news or something I see in the street just doesn't make me think, oh really, that sort of crap is still being pulled these days, really. So it really, I don't have to look much further than, like I said, the evening news to find things to write about, and particularly with the clown circus that's run. I mean, I live in America now, and the clown circus is running this place, and causing problems pretty much everywhere. It's not difficult to find things to write about. In fact, if anything, as I pointed out to somebody earlier, it's like it's not so much the finding things to write about. It's a bit like being presented with the biggest all-you-can-eat buffet in the world and not knowing where to start. That's kind of the problem now. It's kind of.
Yeah. So, mate, you were a punk band when it was probably dangerous to be one during the height of the Troubles in Belfast. How much of an influence were the Troubles over the band in terms of lyrical inspiration?
Well, again, if you go back to sort of the old maxim about writing, which is write about what you know, then they were very influential. They were very much a product of our environment. and you know, if we were going to write about our lives, that was our lives, you know, it was what was happening around us, and you know, that kind of made it a bit ridiculous when people would sort of accuse us of cashing in on the Troubles. It was like, how the hell can we cash in on, you know, what are we supposed to write about? A rainy Sunday in Manchester? I'd never been to Manchester at that point in my life, you know, so, you know, we were writing about what we knew, and so, you know, it was inescapable, really, you know, and it obviously fashioned who we were as people and who we became as people, I think, and, you know, not just us, but I think everybody who lived through it, you know, for better or worse. It's, you know, the whole nature versus nurture argument, that you are fashioned to a larger or lesser degree by what goes on around you as you're growing up, and that's what was going on around us when we were growing up.
This might sound like an obvious question, but keep in mind, I've never been to Belfast. How much has it changed in the last sort of 35 odd years or so?
It's beyond all recognition, to be honest with you. It's very much party time now. You know, again, when we first left Northern Ireland, like 1970, go across to England, you know, people were the very thought of going to Belfast was you may as well have said, you know, so, well, would you like to go to Beirut? Or, you know, just weren't going to do it. You know, it's just crazy. And now it's where people go for bachelorette parties and stuff. You know, it's very much party time. And you know, I think that you know, that's great. I'm sure the folk that live there are kind of sick to death of, you know, stag parties and bachelorette parties turning up all the time. But you know, the fact that, you know, the folk that live there and have come through all of that actually now get to live what the rest of us just take as a normal life is fantastic and phenomenal. And they've really embraced it. You know, I think that's why it's got the reputation of party time. You know, I remember at the time, you know, saying to people, when people say to me, so, you know, what do Northern Irish people really like? And I said, well, and this is going back to 77, 78. Well, you know, we are genuinely among the friendliest people in the world. We just kill each other. You know, it's like we've got one flaw. You know, it's like we're very friendly with everybody else. Just we don't get along with each other, you know. And luckily, that seems to have gone on the back burner now, which is great. You know.
That is indeed. Hey, different question for you. Bruce Foxton, the outstanding bass player that was in the Jam, was actually in Stiff Little Fingers for over 15 years. So, how would you summarise his contribution to the band's legacy?
Bruce was and is a phenomenal player. I mean, we'd known each other basically through ourselves in the Jam, you know, playing the same festivals throughout Europe and stuff, and we've become pals over the years. So, you know, when Ali left in whenever it was, 87, 88, you know, Bruce was kind of the first and only person I phoned up, really. And luckily, he wasn't doing much at the time, so, you know, he stepped in and, you know, he stayed with us, like you said, for like 15 years. The thing that Bruce initially brought that we didn't have with Ali is Bruce is, as you well know, a phenomenal harmony singer as well as a great bass player. So suddenly we were able to expand and play like the 3-part harmony on stage, which, you know, again, for a punk rock band was like, I don't think our audience even noticed us slipping it in. You know, we started sort of, you know, so hang on a minute, they're actually singing. They haven't done that before. What are they doing? You know, and yeah, I mean, he brought a lot. He also brought a huge amount of enthusiasm and stuff. You know, which is great. And obviously, you know, the experience that he'd had with the Jam was, again, sort of, you know, priceless, because, you know, it wasn't like we were bringing some guy who'd, you know, only been playing in the back room of pubs or whatever, and suddenly saying, okay, well, we're flying to Japan next week, and, you know, watch this guy freak out. Bruce was like, yeah, okay, cool, I've been there. So, you know. But yeah, I mean, the main thing he brought initially was, like I said, he brought an extra couple of colours to the palette that we hadn't had before in terms of the harmony singing, in terms of the actual enthusiasm. And, you know, again, that's not denigrating Ali, because, again, when Bruce decided he'd had enough of, and it was mainly the touring schedule that he didn't, you know, he didn't want to do as much as we were doing. And again, we were hugely lucky to get Ali back in again, who by that stage had a while away from playing, and so he came back re-energized again. So it's like, you know, the swapping of bass players, one for the other, has on both occasions managed to re-energize the rest of us, which is, you know, no bad thing.
So you seem to have a habit of working with excellent bass players, because I think you worked with JJ Burnell in the Nefarious Fat Cats. So what was it like working with JJ?
Well, I worked with JJ. It was actually with an acoustic act. I worked with JJ. The Three Men in Black thing. The Fat Cats is a local charitable thing that we just do once a year. In fact, we literally just did it 2 days ago. That we just do once a year here in Chicago. Yeah, JJ. I mean, when I worked with him, he wasn't actually playing bass. He was playing acoustic guitar. But again, I've known JJ since 1979 or so, I think. I stood in for Hugh for just sang a couple of songs on a couple of shows when Hugh was having a holiday at Her Majesty's expense, and I stepped in for that, and so I've known JJ for a long, long time, and yeah, I mean he's again an unbelievably good bass player and a really, really nice guy. I mean, for all people tend to focus on, well, he's a karate black belt and he can be really violent. They said, maybe he was violent back in the day. I've never seen him be violent. He's always been really nice with me. So. Yeah.
Mate, that's it. I want to congratulate you on a wonderful career to date, and mate, we are looking forward to seeing you when you come down here with the show.
Thanks, Andy. Looking forward to getting there as well. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my discussion with Jake Burns, one of the members of the band Stiff Little Fingers. Thanks so much for listening.